Hey, beautiful people, and welcome to a classy situation where we discuss faith, fashion, and self care. On today's video, we are going to discuss a few ways to have self care. I was recently asked the question of what ways can a person, you know, care for themselves, or what activities could they do in order to incorporate the self-care into their daily routine. And so I decided to write down 10 ways you can incorporate self-care into your daily routine. Now, these are things that I have done. However, everybody's definition, or everybody's form rather, of self-care may look different depending on your lifestyle, depending on your budget, just depending on a lot of different factors. But I wanted to share just a couple, and I'll elaborate on some just to help you guys out. If there are any self-care forms of self-care that you guys use, feel free to share those below. I would love to hear from you. So if you see me look down, just know that I'm looking at my journal because I did write the items down. Okay, I'm going to start with number one, and number one is a date, a solo date. It's simple as that. Whether it's breakfast, lunch, or dinner, it doesn't matter. My favorite meal is breakfast, so I do prefer a breakfast date. However, it's totally up to you. Sometimes we just need that space to be alone. Sometimes our life is so busy. We're doing things for work, we're doing things for church, we're doing things for our family, and we don't really get that solo time. And so sometimes it can just take going somewhere, getting something to eat, and you can dine in the restaurant, because I like to people watch. So you can either dine in the restaurant, or sometimes I go through the drive-through, I get my food, and then I pull over in a car, in my car, and then I just sit and eat and people watch, to be perfectly honest with you. And I enjoy people watching. And so in those moments, I get to just be still. I don't scroll social media. I enjoy my food. I pay attention to what's going on around me. I try to embrace the moment, because to be quite honest, we don't get a lot of moments like that. So that's number one, a date, a solo date. Number two, go to the movies. Watch a movie. So you can go to the movies, right? I know some people are like, go to the movies, that's just pitiful, honey. No, it's not. Being in a theater by yourself, and when I say by yourself, there are other patrons there, but you going to the movies by yourself, you can enjoy a good movie, okay? And if that makes you uncomfortable, then just put a movie on, at home. Just, if you have kids, I don't have kids, so my experience with children is limited, but if you can get a babysitter, get a babysitter. Find you a good movie. I don't know if people still doing Redbox. I've never tried that, so I don't know. Get you something that you hadn't seen, or maybe a movie that you enjoy. My definition of self-care is doing those things that bring me joy. And not only do they bring me joy, but they help my physical, my mental, my financial, and my psychological or spiritual growth. Those things, they help mental health, financial health. Like, those type of things bring me joy. When I feel spiritually healthy, that brings me joy. When I'm in a good place financially, that brings me joy. And a lot of times when people say self-care, they think of spending money, right? Like, a lot of these days, people think self-care is going on a trip. And that may be a form of self-care for some people, but not for everybody. So just keep that in mind when thinking of ideas or ways you can incorporate self-care into your daily routine. So that's number two. Number three is a solo road trip. I've done many of these. It's just a getaway. As much as I love people, I also love being in my own presence. Excuse me. And so sometimes that road trip, just being on the road by myself, I get that alone time with myself. I get time I could spend with God. If I'm listening to music, I get to jam to my music. I don't have to worry about entertaining anybody in my car. I'm just strictly entertaining Valencia. So a solo road trip. And that doesn't have to be far away. And I'll even add to that, even though it's not on my list, a staycation. You might want one weekend to do a staycation in your city, or somewhere nearby. Get you a hotel room for 2 nights, that Friday night, that Saturday night, and just reserve you a hotel. Maybe it's a hotel you've never visited before. Do that way you get the experience of taking care of yourself, but you also get the experience of visiting a new place. Number 4, a mani-pedi. Now, some people put this under the umbrella of maintenance, to each his own. But for me, being pampered, letting someone else do my feet, letting somebody work on these hands, honey, that is a form of self-care for me. That's self-explanatory. I'm not going to go too far into that. Number 5, purchase something for yourself. A lot of times we feel stressed and worn out because we're working and working and working, and our money is going everywhere but to us. Now, if you are in some kind of debt or experiencing some type of financial hardship where you're trying to get back on your feet, that's one thing. I get that. But sometimes we don't pay ourselves, and that is stress. You pay your tithes, you pay your bills, you paying for stuff for your kids or other family members, and before you know it, you have no money. And when you purchase something for yourself, it doesn't even have to be anything expensive. Recently, I went and bought a fragrance. Now, for some, that's expensive. I get that. Go buy something else. Like, go buy a coloring book. It may seem childish, but really, there's something peaceful about coloring in a coloring book. Go buy something like an ice cream. Go to your local ice cream shop, get you your favorite ice cream, and just sit and eat it. Literally, just buy yourself something that brings you joy. I want to add this too. When it comes to self-care, something you can purchase for yourself is some nice lounge wear. Now, this is gonna make me sound real old, really, really old. But some nice lounge wear. I'm not talking about that t-shirt that you sleep in. I'm not talking about those old pajamas with the bleach stain in the hole. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about a matching set of lounge wear. I don't know about y'all, but it's something about taking care of myself at the house. Getting up, taking a shower, putting on some stuff that smells good, and having on some nice lounge wear. That's some good self-care for me. And I can just stay at home in my lounge wear. So sometimes even things you wear can impact self-care or impact how you feel. And like I said before, self-care is doing things that make you feel good. So for me, having some nice lounge wear, I be feeling myself, child, walking around the house. Anyway, number 6, your health. Making sure, because self-care is not just about activities that make you feel good, but taking care of yourself. Literally. Mental health, physical, spiritual, and I touched on this earlier, financial, making sure you're actually taking care of yourself, making appointments, going to the appointments, whether it's therapy, whether it's your primary care physician, and honestly, taking care of yourself and going to those appointments. I tell people all the time, taking care of your mental, physical, financial, spiritual health, that's preventative care. Okay, don't wait till something bad happens and now you're trying to go to the doctor, or now you're trying to go see your therapist, or now you're trying to get an accountant. Go to your appointments. Get you some insurance and go to your appointments. Number 7, a hobby. A lot of us don't have hobbies. We say things like, I don't have time, or make time. Make time, whether that's reading a book, horseback riding, which I enjoy horseback riding, tennis, going to a dance class, maybe weekly, going to a sewing class. Like, just find something that you enjoy doing, some type of activity, and do it. I mean, it can be weekly, it can be monthly, whatever your budget and your time can afford, but just making sure you incorporate that into your daily routine or your weekly or monthly routine. Next, I have journaling. So for a lot of us, we like to journal. I used to journal every day, not anymore, because sometimes I get into the habit or the routine of journaling and I'm just writing just to be writing. So now I try to write when I actually have something to write about, or when I feel like praying and I just want to write the prayer out. It's a moment of peace for me. It brings me joy. Whatever I'm carrying that morning or that day, I can write that out and just leave it on the page. Leave it on the page. So journaling. Number 9, a massage. When I tell you massages are so therapeutic, which they're supposed to be, but I don't think people really understand. Sometimes we hold tension in our bodies and we don't realize it. It's just like sometimes you're stressed and you don't realize it, and you don't want to wait until your body tells you or your body shows you. Again, massage to me is one of those things I consider it preventative care. It feels so good to just go and get a massage and have somebody just mash that stress on out of you, that tension on out of you. So, massage. Go get a professional massage. And number 10, an event or occasion with friends. Now, many of these things are solo, and the reason why that is because a lot of times our daily routines already include other people. And while we may enjoy those people or enjoy what we do, there is also a such thing as good stress. So the reason why I added an event or occasion with friends is because, let's be honest, sometimes just meeting up with the girls and having a good girl talk, that's some good self-care. I am a woman's woman. I love going out with girlfriends and having girl talk. We ain't always gotta talk about men. I tell my friends now, I don't want to talk about no men every time we go out. It's other stuff to talk about. It's a lot going on in the world, but just talking about life, catching up, talking about dreams, goals, aspirations, just talking about how far we've come, just all those things. Those things can be so rejuvenating, right? And also those moments can remind you that you're not the only one. Sometimes we get in a thought process where we think, man, I'm the only one. I mean, even you don't even realize it sometimes that you're thinking you're the only one that's going through, and it takes someone else mentioning it for you to realize, oh, I'm not the only one. And in that moment alone, it's like a burden was lifted. Like there's some type of relief. And for me, when I leave those type of outings, I feel better. I genuinely feel better when I go out with my friends and we, especially if it's some good food involved, because y'all know that it don't take much for me. Some good food, some good conversation, and maybe some good music. It's good for me. So if you do have forms of self-care, please list them down below. If you don't and you found one of these interesting and you plan on trying one, put that down below. And this is something I want to say. I said this to one of my friends one time. We were talking about dating and somebody was complaining about what a man wasn't doing for them. If you're not doing it for yourself, if someone else doesn't see you doing it for yourself, I'm just trying to figure out, how do you expect them to do it? Now, don't get me wrong, you do have some people who they'll treat you better than you treat yourself. But let's be honest. We cannot sit around and wait for someone else to treat us the way that we need to be treating ourselves. You want somebody to take you out, but you don't ever go out. You always sit on the couch. You want somebody to take you on dates and do activities that you've never done before. Why can't you do that? Perhaps you'll meet a friend or mate doing the activity. I'm just saying. I just thought I'd put that in there. Self-care starts with you. Stop waiting around, waiting on somebody else to treat you in such a way. Okay, that's all I'm saying. We too old. We at a big age now. We're grown. So when you start on this list, think about stuff. Don't say, well, this is what I want. No, what do you like to do? What things bring you joy? Shopping brings me joy. Watching a movie that's funny. I love comedy, and I really love romantic comedies, romantic black comedies. Yeah, I like taking walks in the park. If you know me, I go to the park when it's not too cold, and I'll take a walk in the park just to relieve some stress. I'll go to a restaurant, visit a restaurant that I've never visited before, because that makes me feel good. So again, create a list, share below. Okay, share your list or share something that you may have heard me say that you are going to try. Okay, so thank you so much for tuning in. If you are new here, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. I'm so glad my little channel is growing, y'all. That little my 45 subscribers, I really appreciate you. Feel free to share this video, hit the thumbs up button, and I will see you next time.